19th Century Abolitionist by Mackenzie Graybill. Frederick Douglass. He was born in Maryland as a slave. He then escaped slavery in his mid to early 20s. And he stayed at the safe house of abolitionist David Ruggles in New York. Through him, he started attending meetings and read the writings of abolitionist and journalist William Lloyd Garrison. He argued the end of slavery and that it was evil and a sin. He became a leading spokesperson for the abolition of slavery. In 1847, he founded the North Star and was the most influential African American pre-Civil War. And here is a picture of his statue of him in Central Park, Manhattan. Robert Purvis. He argued for women's rights in Pennsylvania and other northern states. He was one of the board managers for the National American Anti-Slavery Society. He served as the president of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society and raised funds for the abolition. He also hid runaway slaves in his home in the 1830s. A quote from the book. Differences between Garrison and the Tappan brothers, Arthur and Lewis, and their respective supporters began to divide the society. Garrison believed that the American Anti-Slavery Society did not press hard enough for abolition, and he sought to transform the group in many key ways. He criticized other leaders for their unwillingness to work for women's equality, to condemn the Constitution as a tool of slavery, and denounced the churches for not taking an unequivocal anti-slavery stance. Sojourner Truth. Her birth given name was Isabella Purfrey, but in 1843 she changed it because she believed that she needed to speak her truth on against slavery and oppression. She joined the Northampton Association of Education and Industry. In 1844, it was an abolitionist organization in Massachusetts. She spoke at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention in 1851, and she contributed the speech that she gave there to the abolitionist movement. And at the Northampton Association of Education and Industry, she then met Frederick Douglass. A quote. Like another famous escaped enslaved woman, Harriet Tubman, Truth helped recruit black soldiers during the Civil War. She worked for the National Freedoms Relief Association in Washington, D.C., and rallied people to donate food, clothes, and other supplies to black refugees. Her activism for the abolitionist movement gained the attention of President Abraham Lincoln, who invited her to the White House in October of 1864. He then showed her a Bible that he was given by African Americans in Baltimore. While Truth was in Washington, D.C., she put her courage and disdain for segregation on display. She did this by riding on whites-only streetcars. When the Civil War ended, she tried exhaustively to find jobs for freed black Americans that were weighed down with poverty. Later, she unsuccessfully petitioned for the government to resettle formerly enslaved people on government land in the West. And here is a picture of Sojourner Truth and Abraham Lincoln in Washington, D.C. in October of 1864. And here is a map, and the red arrows show the Underground Railroad routes, and the green states, or the northern states, were free states and territories, and the bluish-green were the slave states. William Senow. He stood up for women's rights and also worked with women in anti-slavery societies and at regional conventions. He worked with white abolitionists like Garrison, Phillips, and Charles Sumner. A quote from the book. A much more capable historian was William Senow, whose services of colored Americans in the wars of 1776 and 1812 first appeared in 1852. 3 years later, he substantially revised the book and issued the new edition under the title The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution, with sketches of several distinguished colored persons, to which is added a brief survey of the conditions and prospects of colored Americans. And here I have a picture of a book for the Times, Colored Patriots of the American Revolution by William Senow. And it was a pamphlet by him. And here I have a colored version of the Colored Patriots of the American Revolution by him. And in the middle is a portrait. And over here is the Colored Patriots, American Revolution, Distinguished Colored Persons. Samuel Cornish. He established Freedom's Journal in 1827 with John Rushman. He was on the board of the American Anti-Slavery Society. Samuel E. Cornish and John B. Rushman became the first black-owned and operated newspaper in America. The newspaper was called Freedom's Journal. While others agreed with the returning those to where their country of origin was, Samuel disagreed with this, and later on this would be the reason he would leave Freedom's Journal. John Rushman. A quote from the book. Key black leaders took different sides on the issue of forsaking their homeland in the United States. The most noted leader to depart for Libya in the 1820s was John Rushman, a Bourbon College graduate and the co-founder with Samuel Cornish of the newspaper Freedom's Journal. The two men began publication in 1827 to advocate the downriding of their race. Within 2 years, Rushman had become disillusioned, no longer believing in the possibility of racial equality in the United States. In 1829, he relocated to Liberia. And here is a picture of him. And it says, The Struggles of John Brown Rushman, the last in the life and writings of a and here we have the fact that Freedom's Journal only lasted 2 years, and Rushman is on the right. And this newspaper was used to promote the an African the an early back to use the paper to promote an early back to African movement, and it lost favor, and that's when John moved back to Liberia. And here's the references.